afternoon. I'm Sergeant Williams with the Hampton Police Division's Public Information Office. I'm joined here today by Chief Talbot, Assistant Chief Gallup, Captain Coleman, Captain Price, Captain Scheck, and Captain Warren. On January 31st, 2022, at approximately 9:06 a.m., officers were called and responded to the 100 block of Ranelette Drive in reference to a missing juvenile, who we all know now as Cory Bigsby. Officers arrived on scene at 9:16 a.m., and 8 minutes later, multiple K-9 units arrived to assist. Within the hour, command staff and multiple detectives were already on scene. At 10:47 a.m., we formally requested the FBI to bring additional resources and technical support. At 11 a.m., the Hampton Police Division disseminated a press release and social media blast, which reached hundreds of thousands of people within our community. With the assistance of the local media, that reach extended well into the millions. By 11:30, the FBI arrived on scene, bringing additional agents as well as a plane to our aid. At 12:29, a reverse 911 call went out to residents and neighborhoods requesting information. By 1 p.m., officers had already searched the immediate surrounding areas of the apartment complex. Officers and detectives began canvassing every house while K-9 searches continued and drones were searching from the air. Additionally, Mr. Bigsby, Cory's father, had arrived at police headquarters and began speaking with investigators. In the coming days, the search would evolve into a massive coordinated effort with our federal, regional, and local partners, to include citizen volunteers. Searches continued by land, air, and sea. Dive teams were deployed, and drone teams scanned over 900 acres of remote marsh, waterways, and woodlands. As our search was taking place, investigative and forensic personnel worked around the clock to gather and process evidence to speak to anyone that might have knowledge about Cody's whereabouts. On the evening of Thursday, February 3rd, Cory Bigsby was arrested and transported to lockup, where he was served with 7 charges for felony child neglect. On Friday, February 4th, our search efforts began to transition into an investigative phase, and the massive grid search came to a slow conclusion. Since that day, our goal to find Cody has not changed. Our search has not stopped. Investigators are continuing to process immense amounts of evidence and follow up with every possible lead. With that, Chief Talbot will now provide additional comments.
All right, good afternoon. I'm Mark Talbot. I'm the police chief for the Hampton Police Division. I'm going to begin this press conference like I started all of the press conferences with this case. I'm here on behalf of 4-year-old Cory Bigsby. It has been 14 heart-wrenching days since he was reported missing by his father, Cory Bigsby. Sergeant Williams did a great job laying out the timeline of events, and he did an excellent job laying out all the work that we've put into this investigation. I am extremely proud of the work that was done, not only by the Hampton Police Division, but by our partner agencies and by members of the public who have been out there every single day with us. For that, we are extremely grateful. You know, an investigation like this has a lot of moving parts. You've just heard that. One aspect of an investigation of this nature is that it is important that I keep in my mind all of the aspects of this investigation that ensure that it has the integrity that it needs to have. And that is primarily why I'm speaking to you today. This past Friday, in an effort to ensure that everything that we've done has been consistent with our best and our obligation, we reviewed video footage of some of the interviews involving Cory Bigsby. So Mr. Bigsby came to the Hampton Police Division, I'll remind you, on January 31st to assist with this investigation. He had his 3 small children with him. Around 2:30 that day, Mr. Bigsby sat for a formal interview with our detectives. The detective in that case began the conversation by reminding Mr. Bigsby that he was there voluntarily, he was not being detained by us, and that he had the right to an attorney if he chose to have an attorney with him. Mr. Bigsby decided to waive his rights at that time and to answer our questions. He continued to answer questions for several hours, and at some point it was suggested that we would like Mr. Bigsby to take a polygraph examination. Part of that polygraph examination that wasn't given by our agency, it was in fact given by a federal agency, involves, again, being reminded of his rights to an attorney, a right not to speak, a right not to incriminate himself. He received and he waived those rights, and he took the polygraph examination. Upon the conclusion of the polygraph examination, Mr. Bigsby resumed his interview with our detectives and our partner agencies. In the midst of this follow-up interview, there was a heated exchange between Mr. Bigsby and the lead detective in this case. The heated exchange came about when there was a discussion about the results of that polygraph exam. I won't discuss the result, I'll just say there was a heated back and forth. In the midst of this heated exchange, Mr. Bigsby made a statement that I believe was mishandled by the Hampton Police Division. He made a statement that indicated that he wanted to have legal counsel there with him. My assessment of his statement in that moment and a statement that he made several minutes later that was similar, expressing a desire for legal counsel, my assessment is that his desires should have been honored. They weren't. Ultimately, a decision like this that surrounds what we will do, what the court system will do in response to this episode is for the Commonwealth Attorney, is for Anton Bell. But we have our own obligation here. We didn't meet it, frankly. We have our own obligation to maintain the highest standards of conduct, to make sure that we're not skirting any lines that appear to be inappropriate or are questionable. We also have a standard that involves every member in this organization providing clear and concise and accurate information all the way up the chain of command so that we can make the best decisions as it relates to any investigation, in particular when it comes to seeking justice for a 4-year-old child. To give you a sense of the timing of what occurred, the problematic behavior that was brought to my attention was brought to me late in the afternoon this past Friday. As soon as we discovered this, we ordered the entire command staff into the police station to do a full audit of all of the video recordings of our interactions with Mr. Bigsby. That occurred throughout the weekend. Most of us were here all weekend completing that. Our analysis, our audit of that video left us in a much better place in terms of understanding what happened. It also allows us to be reassured and allows me to reassure the public that the charges that were filed against Mr. Bigsby are appropriate. Mr. Bigsby is the only person that we've found evidence against to indicate we need to continue to pay attention to him in order to find out where Cory Bigsby might be and what may have happened to him. Nothing that occurred has shaken my confidence surrounding whether or not we paid attention to the right person or whether or not we've missed some key detail. We have not. Our investigation is sound. Moving forward, we will continue to look at all the evidence. Many of you have reported some of the work that we did this weekend. We are searching different areas of the city. We are exploring the forensic evidence even further. We're continuing to take this investigation wherever the facts are going to take us. I deeply regret what I found out on Friday. Make no mistake about it. I am extremely disappointed with not only having to be the distraction that I spoke of previously, but I'm disappointed that we have done anything that may have slowed us down on our quest to bring justice to this child. That will be handled appropriately. Anybody who didn't live up to the standards that are important to us will be held accountable, and we will make sure that we continue to work as hard as we possibly can to bring more facts forward in this case and ultimately bring some degree of justice. With that, I will take your questions.
Has the lead detective been dismissed